Missouri aces the test against Central Arkansas, but what did it actually mean? Did it mean anything? Did it mean everything? Something in between? Let's talk about it on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso, and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball, here with a special and truncated, I would say, live edition. We'll see how long we actually run here of Locked On Mizzou here on Labor Day. Probably just going to keep it short, though, honestly. I gave you all a bunch of content yesterday, including a very impromptu, roundtable with the SEC squad yesterday. Had a couple confused souls who were criticizing me about that show yesterday. Wow, was that a great way to start the morning. But you know what? I'm going to nip this particular criticism in the bud later in the show. But you know what? Let's start by talking about, some other comments I received, actually. It was funny. After the Central Arkansas game, I had some people saying, hey, calm down. Stop being so negative. I'm never listening to this show again. And then other people saying, wow, you're just overly positive for the Central Arkansas game. So that wide of a range, I got to say, I think I nailed it straight through the uprights with that take. But of course, Missouri beating Arkansas 61-6. Does that mean the Tigers are a playoff sure thing? Obviously not. What it does mean is I think it went about as well as you could have expected. Sure, the pass protection was not up to snuff. I'll agree with you there. But if you look around the country, it went about as well as you could have expected. Once again, Oregon beats Montana State, a similar opponent, 59-13. Florida beats Long Island 55-0. And then Texas Tech over Pine Bluff, 67-7. Ole Miss over Georgia State, 63-7. Those are really the biggest blowouts of the week nationally, along with Missouri. And most of those teams are expected to be pretty good. Now, interesting, the Oklahoma Sooners. John Mateer ends up your Heisman Trophy favorite over at FanDuel after this week, but 35-3 over Illinois State, and my colleagues over at Locked On Sooners were definitely expressing a lot of concern that the Sooners could not run the football effectively against Illinois State. So that's definitely something to watch moving forward for Missouri fans who obviously have a huge week 10 battle, week 11, something like that, sometime in late November, down in Norman, Oklahoma. So to all the people who are saying, you overreacted, you underreacted, I think I covered all my bases there pretty well. But just so we're clear here, to me, Mizzou looked like the team that I expected it to be. And I think most of my colleagues, speaking of the SEC squad, nationally, maybe Missouri has been underrated. I feel like my colleagues have been on top of it too. So I think Missouri's exactly who we expected them to be. That's really my main takeaway. And who did I expect Missouri to be? A team that is going to be a pain in the butt to play, and a team that's probably going to have a lot of close games. What their record is, if they make the playoff, et cetera, it's all going to come down to performance and the bounce of the football probably a few times in said football games. I'm just saying, if you're the Alabama Crimson Tide, for example, in the offseason, that was the toughest game on paper for Missouri, just based on projections, point spreads, any objective measure. Basically said that was your toughest game for Missouri. Now, that game's looking a heck of a lot less daunting. And regardless of maybe Alabama turns it around here the next few weeks, Missouri is a team that is going to play defense. They're going to be able to run the football. They're going to be able to control the clock probably as well. And Alabama, that sounds kind of a lot like how Florida State played down in Tallahassee. Again, that is not going to be an easy game for the Crimson Tide. I promise you my Locked On Bama guys are not counting that as a win right now. So there's really nothing on this schedule for Missouri right now that I think is too overly daunting. On the other hand, there's a whole bunch of games, as many as 7, maybe as many as 8. I'd say at least 7 games on this schedule. Really, heck, it is 8 now with Alabama. Let's throw them in there. They're really huge swing games on this schedule. So, like Stephen Willis over at Locked On Ole Miss has been saying, if you're trying to pick this season like it's even 2019, well, you're probably going to end up looking foolish. With all of the roster turnover, with all of, well, guys like Nick Saban retiring, hey, you just can't count on Alabama like you used to. They still got a bunch of talent. They still have time to turn it around. I think Kalen DeBoer is a good tactical coach. But is he the leader of men that Nick Saban is? Well, quite clearly not at this point. So anyway, we're going to move on here. And what I want to move on to actually is the brotherly shove, better known as the Tush Push for a lot of people. I got to say, I was shocked to see Missouri run this play. I was shocked to see a lot of other people around the college football universe and really the NFL universe was still trying to make the Tush Push a thing. I really don't understand it because outside of, again, the city of brotherly love, outside of Philadelphia, no one is good at this. Just do the regular quarterback sneak at this point because no one, for whatever reason, somebody's got to explain this to me, but no one other than the Philadelphia Eagles can make this play happen. And it's not Jason Kelce. He retired last season. The Eagles were still effective with the Tush Push. It was a huge weapon on their way to the Super Bowl. So to me, by the way, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I realize the Chiefs have abandoned the quarterback sneak. To me, run one sneak with Mahomes this year. Just one, just to keep them honest. That just kind of shows you how my brain works a little bit when I'm building out an offense. I'm just always looking for counters. So if I'm building out my empty passing game, hey, what's my run counter? And what's my pass from a jumbo formation? That type of deal. So, you know what? We're going to talk more Mizzou football here coming up, including some complaints from the student side about, well, the ticket process that didn't sound like a lot of fun. Also, some more on the upcoming 9-game SEC schedules and all of that good stuff. But you know what? Quickly here, I do need to take care of some business. Rugiet, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis, guys. But you know what? I've got something faster. It's Rugiet ready. It's ready for you in, on average, 15 minutes. Dissolves right under the tongue. Effects can last up to 36 hours. You got to love that it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. And also FanDuel. Yes, we've already passed Futures Day, but FanDuel is always the best place to throw down on futures, game lines, money lines. I'm more of a money line type of bettor. Forget about these points. Let's just bet on wins or losses. That's just me. But no matter what you're into, hey, the NFL's here. College is here. It's time to get in on the action. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day was just one day and one day only. If you missed it, it's okay. Still plenty of action at FanDuel where you got to play your game. All right, we're back here on Locked On Mizzou, taking a quick look at the comments here. Let's see how many people are narking on me to my boss. Oh, no one yet. Good. I'm all good, apparently. I was laughed at, and I deserved a good laughing at. No doubt about that. Rick says, anyone else have any butterflies for the Kansas game? No doubt about it. I have not taken my deep dive on the Jayhawks yet, but a healthy Jalen Daniels got to make you nervous. I think overall Missouri has more talent than Kansas. There's a reason they're going to be favored by 6.5, 6 points. We'll see where it settles by kickoff. But yeah, I'm not thinking the Jayhawks are going to be a pushover whatsoever. A game that obviously both teams are desperately going to want to win. I just hope that, well, Missouri, hopefully they're as ready as anybody could possibly be. I know that. Other listeners here saying that South Carolina and Kansas both looked good. I didn't really see the Kansas and Wagner game, by the way. I'm not sure if I'll check that one out. I'll definitely check out the Kansas-Fresno State game without a doubt. But South Carolina, their first drive, really impressive. Hit a big lull offensively, but yeah, end of the day, obviously their defense looked good. Maybe some first game sort of offensive stuff to work out a little bit, but ultimately, Lenora Sellers made some great plays in that game. An impressive, obvious first touchdown run. Some great passes, real nice pass for a touchdown too. He's one of the best players in the country, and Missouri is definitely going to have their hands full with South Carolina. There's no doubt about that. I would expect. That's one of those 7 games. I think it's going to come down to one possession, that type of deal. That's just what I would assume here. By the way, I thought this was interesting on the 9-game SEC schedule. It does say that each team is going to face every other program at least once every other year. And by the way, you'll have a home and away with every opponent within every 4 years. So Ole Miss, for example, a team Missouri's played at home once, has played at Ole Miss one time as well. Well, they would play, we'd see them at least twice every 4 years. So that's a positive change in my opinion. I did think that since they said, hey, it'll be every 4 years, so it won't necessarily be this back-to-back type of situation where, for example, we've played the same 8-game SEC schedule the past 2 years, just flipped them home and away from 24 to 25. I'm still wondering what is the deal with South Carolina and Clemson, Louisville and Kentucky, those type of rivalries. Are they affected by this 9-game schedule? By the way, as P5 Cowdery correctly points out here, SEC Nation coming to Como, by the way. Tim Tebow, Paul Feinbaum, Laura Rutledge, all that crew is coming to Columbia. So no game day. They're going to the OU Michigan game, understandably, but SEC Nation coming to Columbia for the border war. That's exciting stuff. But anyway, let's also move on here to the NFL, where Theo Weiss, Brady Cook, Harrison Mevis all retained on practice squads, by the way. Theo Weiss with the Dolphins, Cook and Harrison Mevis with the Jets. Tyler Beatty made the Denver Broncos, by the way, after having that scary injury situation during the 2024 season. The Broncos looking like a team that is definitely trending up. So good for Tyler Beatty making that squad, and hopefully Sean Payton will have some good uses for him. By the way, I did want to point out Adam, a Mizzou student, wrote me with some real frustrations about a week before the game, really just a few days before the game, saying the student ticket claim process was absolutely terrible. We paid $200 to $250 for the sports pass, and we were forced into a virtual waiting room for 1 to 3 hours when we tried to claim our tickets. And once your wait was up, you had 10 minutes to claim the ticket. Many students reported that they waited for hours and got booted when they finally got a chance to claim their ticket, causing them to miss out on actually getting a ticket. Well, that does sound horrific. And, especially, I'm glad that Missouri is increasing the fan experience in the north end zone, for instance, in order to, claim more money from Missouri fans, let's be honest. But I would like Missouri to care a little bit more about this type of process, especially for the students. I understand you're giving them a pretty good deal on the tickets, but yeah, if you're throwing down your money and then having to sit around, get kicked out of a waiting room, now you've got, who has time to sit around, especially a lot of young people are not necessarily carrying around a laptop with them all the time. If you try to do that thing on a phone, your phone is naturally going to go to sleep at some times. It's easy to miss that type of stuff. I just think there's no reason to make that process more difficult than it has to be on your fans. And by the way, let's figure something out in the south end zone for the KU game this week as well. I'll say this, I'll definitely be getting into the stadium a lot earlier than I did last week. I certainly learned my lesson there. And I will say this, by the way, one reason I'm keeping this Monday show a little bit short, number one, it's Labor Day, but number two, well, I ended up being a part of an impromptu roundtable for the SEC squad on Sunday afternoon, so I kind of doubled you up with content yesterday. But I have to say, I was a little bit annoyed and peeved this morning when I saw some comments on that particular show from Missouri fans that felt like I didn't stand up for Missouri in that program or talk about Missouri enough. Guys, to those of you who made this criticism, it was called an SEC Week 1 roundtable. It's an extemporaneous discussion, and by the way, we spent the entire first segment talking about Alabama and Florida State. We didn't even get to Arch Manning and Texas and Ohio State, that huge game, until the final segment of said program. What exactly would you have me do here? Again, on a segment that's supposed to be about the entire country, and particularly the SEC, you want me to start screaming about Bo Prabula in Central Arkansas while somebody else is making a salient point? If you think that's what I should be doing on that particular show, then you do not know the first thing about how this business actually works. And secondly, I'm just going to stand up for myself a little bit here and say there's nobody out there giving you more Missouri podcast content specifically. So please, as the kids say, miss me with that particular criticism. See, this is why I generally try to avoid the comments, except, you know what? I do enjoy the live comments on these show. I really do. And the people who join me, the regulars and the everydayers who join me on the premieres of this program. Generally speaking, these days, I'm going live on a premiere, at least during the week, 7 a.m. on YouTube. And I often am in there answering those live questions. We're getting a good crew going, a lot of regulars, a lot of everydayers. It's a fun time. So by the way, anytime over on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit your notifications bell. That'll let you know, give you a notification on your phone anytime I am doing an impromptu live event, that type of deal. But again, folks, when it's the SEC squad and it pops up in your feed, that means it's going to be about the SEC. How much that's going to be about Missouri? Well, it's going to depend. If Missouri played Central Arkansas and Alabama lost and Texas lost, I got news for you. We're probably leading with the latter. Does anybody understand how this works? I think 99.9% of you listening right now understand. Unfortunately, it was the 0.01% that was very loud and stupid. Hey, I can handle nice and stupid, but if you're going to be mean and stupid, you're going to have to go. But anyway, hey, I'm going to have to go right now. So thanks for joining me here on this special live edition of Locked On Mizzou. I'll see you all next time. I'll see you all Tuesday morning. Yep, right here on Locked On Mizzou.